I was in love with a multi-platinum songwriter, and I wrote a song with him about him. Here's the story and the lessons I learned from the experience. So when I first moved to LA, I started working with this amazing vocal coach who not only had so much knowledge about the human voice, but also was a multi-platinum songwriter writing a huge children's hit. On top of that, when he was in college, he was signed to a label and had all this experience with that. On top of all that knowledge and experience, his dad wrote one of the biggest songs of the 90s that I promise you know every word to. Later in the story, you'll find out what song. So as a newbie to LA, I was starstruck by the amount of knowledge and experience this dude had, right? And after a few vocal lessons, I started to develop a huge crush on the dude. He wasn't interested in working with me though, because he was already a multi-platinum songwriter and I was a newbie. But one day his band posted that he needed a social media person, and that's my expertise. So he hired me. First and foremost, I'd like to make a note on something that I think should be obvious, but it wasn't to me. If you're looking to get close with someone romantically, taking a job with them is not the route to do it. So as I do with anything I'm passionate about, I work my ass off being his social media person. He then said to me, "Hey, do you want to be my assistant actually? Because I have more work to do than just social media and I think you'd be great at it." So I took the job and became his part-time assistant. The coolest part about this was every time that I wrote a song, I would bring it into him and he would critique it and kind of give me feedback to make me a stronger writer. I attribute these conversations and critiques to be one of the hugest reasons that I'm the songwriter I am today. And if you have a chance to have a mentor and you're a songwriter, do it. This is the part where it starts to get juicy and I become an asshole. So after about 6 months of us working together, I was flirting with him all the time. I think he was flirting back, but I'm also delusional in love, so who knows. He decided to do a little house party band show thing that obviously I, as his assistant, helped prepare. At this point in time, I got so fed up with this whole crush thing that I had on him that I decided to start hitting on his non-musical roommate. After the party, we started texting and, wanted to see where it would lead. And the roommate ended up asking me out to drinks. So, because I was pissed at him and wanted to make sure that I was moving on, I said yes. On the way to the date, though, I realized I was driving my baby blue car with out-of-state plates and eyelashes on it that's very identifiable to the house of my crush to go on a date with his roommate. Terrible idea. I started to get really nervous and realize how much of a dumb idea it is to go on a date with his roommate, but whatever, I'm already on my way. I can't cancel now. And it was fun. We had a good time. We started making out a little bit, and then we realized how weird it was that I was his roommate's assistant. His roommates who work from home. So we agreed to never tell anybody, said goodnight, and I went home. That's a key part of the story. So fast forward a week or two later, and his other roommate, the producer of the multi-platinum song, decides to hire me as his assistant. Side note, let's do a quick put a finger down if you've ever fallen in love, made out, and got a house key. Put a finger down if that was from 3 different roommates. Okay, so fast forward another 6 months now. So I'm starting to spend a lot of time at the house and the studio, and I'm becoming part of this group of friends, as one does. One night, the producer who I'm not in love with has his brother and his best friend from high school come in town, and this big group, including the roommate that I made out with, and his co-writers and all these other people and me, and the one I'm in love with, all go out to dinner. We come back, we play board games, it was super fun. Slowly people start trickling out, and me and the twin brothers stay up really late and start just talking about life. Side note, the twins, their sister is the one I'm in love with, ex-girlfriend. So I somehow get so comfortable with the twin that I admit that I'm in love with this songwriter. And he literally goes, "I don't know if I would go down that rabbit hole." And I'm like, "Boy, you are 6 months too late." And that's when the songwriter I'm in love with comes into the kitchen, and it's 3 in the morning, and he's like, "Dia, why are you still here?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, everyone's asleep except for me. It's getting really hot in my apartment, and I can't turn on the air conditioning because it's really noisy. So if I'm sweaty, you can't judge me because I'm doing it for you." So we left off. It's 3 in the morning. I just admitted to the producer's twin brother that I am in love with the songwriter. The songwriter walks in the room and is like, "Dia, why are you still here? Everyone else is asleep." He pulls me aside and says, "Dia, this is your place of work, and it's time for you to go home." And I got so mad that I got in my car, slammed the door, and said out loud, "I don't care what he thinks as long as he thinks of me." Ooh, that's a great lyric. I took a deep breath, made it my phone background so I didn't forget, and drove home. Honestly, this feels really long, so you're gonna have to come back tomorrow for part 7. Part 7 of I fell in love with a multi-platinum songwriter and wrote a song with him about him. I missed a few things, so I have to tell them right now. 1, before I started working for him, I played a song called "I've Got a Crush on You" for him in a vocal lesson. He said, "Dia, is this song about me?" I said, "I don't know, maybe." So he knew the entire time that this story is going on that I have a huge crush on him. Number 2, when we were working together, we were talking to each other about everything. We were literally best friends, and he was my first friend in LA, and that's one of the hugest reasons I fell for him. He would say things to me like, "Dia, we're gonna take over the world together." These ideas in my head turned into maybe if I was skinnier, maybe if I was a more successful songwriter, then he would love me. That's why this crush went on for so long. I don't know who needs to hear this, but if they don't love you for who you are, then they don't deserve you. Do not waste years of your life chasing people and trying to read into the little things they're doing. Now back to the story with part 8. Part 8 of I fell in love with a multi-platinum songwriter and wrote a song with him about him. So I just came up with the lyric, I don't care what you think as long as you think of me, and made it my phone background, right? Fast forward about a week and we're going to this recording studio where I had set up a whole music video shoot for him, and it was gonna be dope. Everything was going super well when my crush asked what time it was, and he grabbed the nearest phone to him and saw the phone background on my phone that said, I don't care what you think as long as you think of me. He said, Dia, is that a lyric? I said, yes, no, it's going to be, don't steal it, unless you write it with me. Red flag, don't do that. And he looked at me, he's like, honestly, yeah, great idea. Let's do it. Let's set up a writing session. So we set up the writing session, and as all writing sessions go, he goes, what inspired this lyric? What was I supposed to do? Be like, you inspired it? Like, I was really mad at you one night. No. And as the generally newer songwriter that I was like, I don't know, like, not avoiding the truth and not wanting to be blatantly honest like I am now. So he starts asking me specific questions like, what would you do if you're trying to get revenge on somebody? And then I remembered something I did in part 4 that involved a pact of not telling him that I did it. So I said, I don't know, make out with their roommate? And he goes, nice, but that's not it. And as the amazing lyricist he is, he came up with, so what, I made out with the girl you brought? I was like, I'm not saying that, that's mean. He says, you always wanted me to. Genius. So after hours of him coming at me with questions of what inspired the song, we finally came up with an amazing top line, like truly the best one I've ever written yet. Yet, meaning at that point. I've written better now. And now to bring the song to life and demo it. Despite the fact that there was a studio at his house, I don't remember why, but we ended up recording it at his dad's studio. His dad is the producer of Genie in a Bottle. This is the studio where Genie in a Bottle is made. As I said, I'm a very new songwriter, so I was so intimidated. I'm surrounded by so much greatness, and I suck. I sucked so much that the songwriter said, maybe we should get a demo singer. And that's when I lost it. I was like, you are my vocal coach, and I'm not where I want with my voice, and I'm not where I want with you, and I'm not where I want with anything, and I was going nuts. And that's when the idea of quitting popped in my head. I didn't, though. I mean, I had to finish the song. Fast forward, we get invited to this professional networking event for songwriters, and it was supposed to be an amazing night, and it was. I met my idol, but it was also the worst night ever. First night that I truly and utterly had my heart broken. The songwriter walks in with his girlfriend, and I went silent. I didn't want to be a dick, you know? This is somebody who tells a 13-part TikTok series talking about everything. I went silent. All of my friends knew something was wrong. So the songwriter comes up to me and goes, Dia, what's wrong? I said, I think I have to quit. He said, don't do anything out of emotion. I said, I know. That's why I said, I think I have to quit. Not that I'm quitting. I went home and I fell asleep crying, and I woke up crying. I did end up quitting my job, but then I got a job with the people that had the networking event, so that was dope. This all happened 2 years ago. I recorded it with an amazing producer and put it out a year ago, and it now has 75,000 streams. Next video, I'll play it. 'Cause I don't care.